So today's the first day that we could see some snow showers here in the Willamette Valley. However, as we go throughout the week, there will be at least a slightly better chance. So I'm going to be talking about that, plus an explanation on an uncommon convergence zone, but one that can have very big impacts and one models do not resolve super well. I'm meteorologist Tanis Leach here, bringing you this update. First off, the National Weather Service watches warnings. Like yesterday, the higher Cascades and the higher reaches of the northern Oregon Coast Range and southern Washington Coast Ranges are under a winter storm warning, while a winter weather advisory is now up for the Cowlitz County lowlands and the Coast Range valleys. The rest of the lowlands currently have no watch warnings or advisories. Now, onto our setup and what has changed. So, a low pressure system, a BC slider, has been sliding southwards. I expect that to be off the coast of Vancouver Island by Monday before starting to take a little bit of a loop around the eastern Pacific, but never reaching too far off our coast. First change in the forecast is that I expect this to be a little bit delayed compared to my forecast yesterday. So I'm now thinking loop will occur on Tuesday into Wednesday rather than being complete by Tuesday night. So delay of about 12 to 18 hours. As that low slowly sags southward, that brings colder air in to the Columbia Basin. And because of where that low pressure is situated, that can cause that colder wind to leak into the Portland metro area via an easterly wind. And also because of where that low pressure system is situated, that can cause warmer southerly winds to come up from the Willamette Valley. Because of the nature of BC sliders, it's not going to be super warm air because it's going to bring in colder air from the interior British Columbia and wraps around that low. So it's more cool than truly warm air, but it's warmer than what's coming out of the Columbia Basin. So on to our little convergence zone explanation here. And just to give you a frequency, this does not happen super often. It did happen on February 22nd through 23rd, 2023. A possible case on January 10th, 2017, though I cannot confirm that for sure. And then also the December 2008 snowstorms did pop up in at least a few of those, but not all of them. So, colder easterly winds coming out of the Columbia River Gorge. If you keep drawing that line relatively straight, it actually bypasses the highest elevations of the West Hills. Instead, it goes straight for the Chehalem Mountains, lining up a lot better. And as you can see with the orientation of the Chehalem Mountains, it lines up pretty much perpendicular to them. Because of how high the Chehalem Mountains are, that can cause it to block the easterly winds. And also because of that, can block the southerly winds as well, especially when you get a low pressure system situated directly to our west and off the coast. So let's bring in the warm southerly winds onto our screen here. And it's kind of hard to see from this point of view, but the south side of the Shetland Mountains are generally steeper than the north side. So because of that, that can cause some sort of battle zone to form as that southerly winds tries to ramp up over the Shayla Mountains and mixes in with that easterly wind and can cause a narrow band of precipitation to form somewhere near it. Most commonly, it will be within 5 to 10 miles of the ridgeline of the Shayla Mountains in any given direction, and the width of the band is generally about 10 miles. Under severe cases, it might be up to 20 miles. So in that case, if one were to form over the Shayla Mountains, places like Shoals to Forest Grove may get a lot of snow, but then the east side of the metro area may not get a lot. If you get that low pressure system to move further inland, for example, then that can cause the warmer southerly winds to go up further north as the east winds can get blocked as it's not going to have the forcing to go further west and hitting the Chehalem Mountains. So, as a result, that can change where that convergence zone forms, and instead of forming over the Chehalem Mountains, now you'd be looking at somewhere over the central metro area. Under extreme examples like February 22nd, the morning version, not the evening version, those southerly winds can make it all the way up to the eastern metro area. Generally, timing is a little bit of a concern with that because you normally want it just when the easterly winds are starting as well, and that can form the convergence zone over the eastern metro area as that southerly winds tries to ramp up on the Cascade foothills. Again, this is not a widespread snow pattern. This is a localized pattern that can produce heavy snow. Switching over to Google Maps here to specifically show you how wide the Chehalem Mountains are, I decided to take it what I think is the straightest road across, which is the road between Laurelwood and the Laurel Church. This road goes up to about 1,100 feet and goes in a relatively straight line. When you're driving, it's about 4.7 miles, but as the crow flies, it's closer to about 4.5. Now, the European model resolution is about 9 kilometers squared, so that means it's 9 kilometers on each side. Translate that into miles, that's about 5.5 miles. The American GFS model is closer to 13 kilometers, which is closer to 8 miles. And our higher resolution models are generally either 3 kilometers, which is a touch under 2 miles, or 4 kilometers, which is 2.5 miles exact. So for the global models especially, they cannot resolve the Chehalem Mountains, and if you're just randomly looking at snow maps, you are going to get underrepresentation for the Chehalem Mountains. As you can see when I zoom in, the Chehalem Mountains can get up to 1,600 feet at Bald Peak, and pretty much from just south of that Laurelwood Junction all the way east to about Highway 219, which is almost a 10 mile stretch overall. That entire area is 1,200 feet or higher. Yet, even on a higher resolution model, it shows this area closer to about 750 feet. So, because of that, models have a tough time resolving the Chehalem Mountains when it comes to even just snowfall, let alone trying to figure out what winds are going to do and interacting with the Chehalem Mountains. All right. One other thing I will note, and just to show you what I'm specifically looking for on weather models for this convergence zone to form, is this is the European run from Saturday night for Wednesday at 10 p.m. You can see these lines here. These are the pressure lines. When you get more lines going across the Columbia River Gorge, that means you're probably going to get some sort of easterly winds. Normally, one line is not going to produce that strong, if any, winds, so I'm looking for at least two. There is wind barbs that you can see here at different locations, and where that wind barb is located at is where the wind is coming from. So through the Columbia River Gorge, it shows a pretty weak easterly winds by our standards, but still going to be enough for about 10 to 20 miles per hour. That will get into the Portland metro area, and based on where this low pressure system is situated, with the main center being about 50 miles offshore, with a secondary low pressure system about 150 miles west of that, that is going to cause those winds to go towards the Chehalem Mountains. You can also see in the Willamette Valley that you have southerly wind barbs, which furthers my evidence that southerly winds will be pushing up. Now, the question is, how much moisture is this system going to have? We are still too far out to see that. That is going to affect, one, if this convergence zone is going to form, because if there's not much moisture, convergence zone is going to form and there's nothing that's going to really be falling out of the skies except maybe some snow showers. But if there's moisture associated with this, like even just 1,500ths of an inch to 2/10 of an inch of precipitable water, that can cause the convergence zone to form. And that's what I'm looking out for in the coming days. The picture will get clearer as we get closer to the date. This is not a for sure thing yet. I'd probably put this as the most favorable solution with about a 40% chance of happening, snow showers at about 30%, and it being a dry day at 30% or so. Now, onto our forecast notes. Precipitation till Tuesday will be showery in nature, with a trace to an inch widespread on any given day, though many locations will not have any accumulations. Minimal road impacts outside of the morning commute, specifically on Sylvan Summit, which is a little bit higher at about 750 feet. Even then, I don't expect to repeat any big jams that have occurred over there. Snow levels I am expecting to start at 500 feet today, rising throughout the day. On Monday and Tuesday, I expect that to start on the valley floor, also rising throughout the day. All right, onto our timeline, and the temperatures listed here are going to be the temperatures in Portland that I'm expecting at each given time. So, possible snow showers as you are waking up in very isolated places. I'm only expecting about 30% chance of precipitation this morning, increasing slightly to 40% at any given time, with it being primarily a rain snow mix here in the valleys, regardless of location, if not full rain later on in the day with a high temperature in the low 40s. As we go into the overnight hours, temperatures will cool down with snow showers being expected Monday morning as well. Chances is remain around 40%, however, owing to that spotty nature. Onto our 7-day forecast, and we will start with the southern Willamette Valley. I am expecting a quick blip into the mid 40s today before dropping into the lower 40s as we go through the rest of the week, with snow changing over to a rain snow mix and full rain in some areas for pretty much the foreseeable future, with the exception of Wednesday. I do think there's a chance it stays all snow showers on Wednesday, though that really depends on where you're at. The further north you go, the better chance you have on keeping that as snow compared to a rain snow mix or flat out rain. The other change I'm making with my forecast is I'm now seeing a chance of snow occurring on Friday. Previously, that day was dry. Low temperatures will remain right around 30 degrees. For the Portland metro area, high temperatures today will start at 43 degrees before dropping a little bit to 41 on Monday, and then starting on Tuesday, doesn't look like it'll get out 30s for a while. I am for now using the snowstorm graphic on Wednesday. That really depends on if the setup is proper for a convergence zone to form, and even then, I don't expect a snowstorm everywhere because that convergence zone would be on a 10 to 20 mile wide band. And then as we go into Thursday and Friday, snow showers continue a little bit more spotty. Again, like the Southern Valley, I am now including a chance of snow showers on Friday and Saturday. I am expecting dry conditions at this time with low temperatures right around 30 degrees. So that is it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it and learned something for those that weren't here for my forecast for that February 22nd event where I first explained that convergence zone. So until tomorrow, please stay safe out there and take care.